Have you ever wondered if she's actually experiencing the pleasure you think she is? I'm Julia Rhodes, a sex therapist helping men over 60 in the US maintain their sexual life. And today, we're talking about something most men get completely wrong: how to make her orgasm. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A significant number of women fake orgasms to protect their partner's feelings. So how can you be sure you're providing genuine pleasure? The answer isn't some complex technique. It's actually a simple sequence based on understanding her anatomy. It's not just about what to stimulate, but when and in what order. Now, before I get into the details, I'll want to know, are you confident you know exactly what makes her climax? Or is there a part of you that wonders if you're missing something? Drop a comment and be honest, because most men are just guessing. All right, let's start with the epicenter of female pleasure, the clitoris. This is the most critical component for her orgasm, and most men either overlook it or don't give it nearly enough attention. That small external part you can see, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Internally, the clitoris extends into this complex network of erectile tissue. And here's what blows most guys' minds. The clitoral glands contains over 8,000 nerve endings. That's more than double what's in the entire head of your penis. This makes it the most sensitive erogenous zone in the human body. That's not an opinion, that's biological fact. For the vast majority of women, direct clitoral stimulation isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential for orgasm. If you're relying on penetration alone to get the job done, you're making one of the biggest mistakes possible. Now, clitoral stimulation requires a gentle touch at first. As her arousal builds, you can gradually increase pressure. But that focused clitoral attention is the foundation that everything else builds on. Now, let's talk about the second pleasure spot, the G-spot. The G-spot is real, and it's located on the upper front wall of the vaginal canal, just a few inches inside. When you stimulate it properly, it swells up and the texture feels slightly ridged compared to the surrounding tissue. But here's what's different about the G-spot. It doesn't respond to gentle stroking like the clitoris does. It needs firm, consistent pressure. That come here motion with your fingers, that's what works best. The pleasure from G-spot stimulation is deeper and more internal. It's distinct from that sharp, focused sensation of clitoral pleasure. For some women, this can lead to incredibly powerful orgasms. But here's the catch. If you try to stimulate the G-spot without getting her aroused first, it might not feel pleasurable at all. For some women, it's actually uncomfortable. And this is where understanding the sequence becomes absolutely critical. Here's the secret that ties everything together. Think of the clitoris as the key and the G-spot as a locked room full of pleasure. You cannot access that room without using the key first. So here's what you need to do. Start by focusing on the clitoris first, whether that's through oral stimulation, manual touch, or toys. Your goal at this stage is just building her arousal. As you do this, blood is flowing to her entire genital region, including those internal structures and the G-spot. Everything becomes engorged, sensitive, and primed for pleasure. You're basically turning on her entire pleasure system. Now, only when she's highly aroused, when she's close to or has already experienced a clitoral orgasm, that's when you introduce G-spot stimulation. At this point, the door is unlocked. What might have felt uncomfortable or like nothing before suddenly becomes intensely pleasurable. When you combine that sustained clitoral pleasure with deep G-spot pressure, you create what's called a blended orgasm, and it's exponentially more powerful than either one alone. So the sequence is clitoris first to unlock everything, then G-spot to take it to the next level. If you rush straight for the G-spot, you're basically trying to force a lock open. But when you use the clitoris as the key, everything opens up naturally. Now, there are much deeper techniques about timing, communication, and specific methods that I honestly can't fully share on platforms like this. If you want that level of detail, completely raw and unfiltered, I share all of it in my newsletter. The link is pinned in the comments and in the description. What I'm able to share there goes way beyond what's allowed here. All right, let's address two massive myths that are probably destroying your intimacy right now. The first myth is that penetration alone should be enough to make her orgasm. Look, Around 80% of women do not orgasm from penetration alone. The reason is simple anatomy. The clitoris is external, so while some positions might provide some indirect stimulation, it's rarely enough. And the inner 2/3 of the vaginal canal, it has very few nerve endings because it's designed for childbirth, not for intense sensory pleasure. So if your partner hasn't been reaching orgasm from penetration alone, this isn't about you failing or her being broken. It's just anatomy working exactly as it's designed. The second myth is that penis length is what matters most. Here's what most guys don't realize. The most sensitive areas, the G-spot and the lower vaginal canal, they're all located within the first 3 to 4 inches. So if you've got extreme length, you're actually going past these pleasure zones into areas that have very little sensitivity. In some cases, you're hitting the cervix repeatedly, which isn't pleasurable at all. It's actually painful. What actually matters more than length? Girth. A thicker penis creates more friction and pressure against the vaginal walls and that G-spot area. It fills the space more completely and stimulates way more nerve endings at the same time. So this whole cultural obsession with length has been completely misguided. What really creates pleasure is width combined with intelligent use, and of course, proper clitoral attention. Real quick. If this is genuinely changing how you think about intimacy, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. You're getting all this information for free, it costs you nothing to subscribe, and honestly, it helps us way more than you think. Just hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. Let's bring this all home. The clitoris is your gateway to her pleasure. Focus there first and build her arousal to a peak. Once she's there, then you introduce that deep G-spot sensation. This combination is what transforms intimacy from good to absolutely mind-blowing. But I need you to remember something important. Anatomy is only part of the story here. Genuine pleasure is built on a foundation of trust, communication, and real affection. So talk to your partner. Ask her what she actually likes. Listen to her body and listen to her words. Every woman is different, and the only way you can truly learn to please one another is through open, honest communication. This knowledge isn't about you proving something or performing. It's about giving generous, informed pleasure, and that's honestly the most profound way to connect with someone you care about. When she feels truly seen and satisfied, the level of intimacy you share will reach places you probably never thought were possible. So what's been your experience with this? Drop a comment and let me know, and if this actually helped you understand something new, hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one.